Okay, I promised everybody a little PSA, and some people asked instructions on how to get the feral dogs back in the yard when they escaped. So I'm just going to give you a little explanation of what went on, how I got them back. And we'll just start with the hole in the yard. I'm going to turn you guys around here. Let's see. So currently I have this area, I guess I can show you. I have this area blocked off behind me. Just using an X pen and a bunch of things on the ground. But the hole itself, we've got just temporary fixings. Okay. Move this stuff out of the way. Get you guys a better idea of what a mess this is versus what you could see last night in the dark. I'm only going to move the crate to show you the biggest hole in the yard that I could easily fit in. So I'm going to crouch down next to it here. So, if you can tell, multiple people could fit in this hole that has eroded from my yard next door. So, there's a huge gap. Let me put this back real quick just before there's any incidents. And not having it covered if the dog gets out. So last night I unsuspectingly let the dogs out in the yard and they escaped through that hole. I didn't know until they didn't come back into the house, and I came outside and they were gone already. So I went out to the front yard and saw that they were next door running around the neighbor's house, whose house is not fenced. So this was the process. I came outside to get a status of what they were doing. I came back here to the end of my yard. Got a gate here that goes to the alleyway. So I came out here to the alleyway, looked down the alleyway down there, saw Ginny and Neville, called their name. They instantly sprinted away. Very common for the dogs. Knew that even with the gate open, they weren't going to run back into the yard. Then I found that they decided that they were going to go next door here, that house right next to me, and they just did laps upon laps just around the house, because you could tell that they were uncomfortable, didn't want to go too far, but didn't know how to get back to the yard. So I went inside, got Ocho, which is one of my personal social dogs, and brought her up all the way up into the yard area by the house. Neville recognized her, followed her all the way back to this area. We walked back to my fence line here and back in the gate. Ignore all the construction stuff they have everywhere. But once I got Neville in the yard, he sprinted inside, no problem. But Ginny wouldn't come in. Ginny won't go with anybody. Ginny is very fearful. So what happened was Neville unfortunately got a very fast schooling in how to walk on a leash, because I knew that he was the only dog that she was going to actually follow potentially into the yard. So poor Neville got his first leash lesson very quickly. Got the leash on him. We took 5 steps at a time. Eventually, made our way to the yard. I just didn't want to scare him too much. But it was a little bit of a struggle, but in an emergency situation is the only time that I would allow something like that to happen, where he might have been a little more uncomfortable and pushed him a little harder than what I normally like to do. Brought him up to the yard. She was responsive to him but didn't want to follow him, so we had to hang outside for about 15 minutes with her circling the house. and us taking just like 2 steps at a time and her eventually following him. I just stood at the end of the gate so that way she could see him, and as soon as I saw her past the fencing, I walked into the fenced yard, not saying her name at all, only talking about Neville, only talking to Neville, completely ignoring Ginny, so she knew the focus wasn't on her, because the second I put focus on her, she would leave. When she saw him walk through the gate, she then stood at the gate, watched to see what I was doing. So I made sure not to turn around, not to look at her, anything like that. I just waited for the instant that she ran past me to go inside. Then I let Neville go and let him run with her as I shut the gate. So some of the critical things, obviously first step, make sure your yard's always secure. That is my fault, but this is also a really extenuating circumstance. That doesn't normally occur. I actually just noticed that my fence is also sinking from this incident, so we'll have to address that too. I could see that from the other side of the yard. I didn't notice that till now. That's great. So anyway, we'll deal with that later. So making sure that your yard is secure, even when you think it's completely secure, especially someone like me who rescues brand new feral dogs. I would never suspected that I had a huge 3 to 4 foot gap in my fence. But with everything that's going on with like the construction and stuff all behind me here, I mean, it's chaos building that house. Definitely cause for more caution. And then as far as catching the dogs, making sure that wasn't paying attention to them, you know, keep the focus on the dog that you have on leash, you know, really kind of getting close to the other dog and making sure that they are engaging with your dog on leash, but ultimately ignoring them. You know, kind of watching them from your peripheral vision is going to get you a lot farther than actually trying to make any kind of contact with them. The one time I did say their names, they're definitely unresponsive and ran away. My personal dog would do that to me too on occasion. But these feral dogs especially, they're just scared. They get out of their element. They like their routines. They thought it was fun to be free and then didn't know what to do after that because they haven't been outside this yard yet. So, fortunately, everything ended well as far as the dogs go. Very lucky and fortunate that they did follow the plan in this case. And now it's just back to fixing the fence in the yard and everything to make sure it's secure for them, so that way we don't have another incident like this. I plan on doing at least a weekly video every day this year with different tips and stuff. I'm sorry I didn't plan on this being the first one. I was hoping it was going to be something a little bit more like lighthearted or working with one of the ferals, but these are the things that happen, and hopefully it's a learning experience or something to help people be more cautious in their doings, you know, anything that they're doing with the feral dogs, and that it can happen to anybody. You never know what kind of extreme circumstance could occur. To always take caution, be thankful, you know, for when you get them back, you know, learn from your lessons, and share your experiences with other people so that way they can learn from them and help these dogs come along a little bit faster. Construction company's a different situation. We'll deal with that on my side, but fortunately all the dogs are doing well, and I hope to post more videos for you guys at least weekly. Some a little bit more serious about incidents, and some that will be a little bit more lighthearted or just working with the ferals. So thank you guys for tuning in, and sorry about the messy construction and the messy yard with all the snow and rain and everything. But I hope you guys learned something from this. Have a good day. See you soon.